Superskinny Gillian tickles the scales at just 6 stone 8. She's a picky eater, consuming a paltry 350 calories a day. She swapped diets with Supersize 25 stone 6 Philippa. Day 2, and Phil is preparing to launch the day's first food attack. And it's breakfast, so ready, aim, fry. For Phil, it's a diet pop breakfast. But it's Gillian who's got a problem with her bumper brekkie.
What don't you like about egg yolk?
The texture. I've never liked egg yolk. It spoils a toast.
Gillian agrees to give the egg a go, but if at first you don't succeed, try.
Don't smell it, just put it in your mouth.
Try.
And that's not even a mouthful, is it? It's just kind of...
It's so silly.
And try again. And she's cracked it.
Just chew it, and the toast will take over.
It was quite tough because the foods that I don't like, but I tried them and I did eat much more than I would usually eat, so I think I've done well in that respect, that I've probably eaten what I would usually eat in a day.
It's the start of a new day, and even though Gillian knows she has to make changes, it's not going to be so easy.
It wouldn't be so bad if it didn't have milk in it, I think.
Gillian's dislike of most calcium-rich foods means she rarely eats them, which throws up major concerns about the health of her bones.
I think this puts her at a real risk of osteoporosis, so I'm sending her for a bone scan to see if my concerns are justified.
If I do have osteoporosis and the results are positive, I'll be absolutely devastated because I'm only 24, and to know that I've been doing that to my body for so long, it's quite scary.
The potential consequences of Gillian's gross undereating are shocking, and Dr. Jessen hopes in forcing her to face them, she'll begin to see the realities of her terrible diet.
Those ribs are very, very, very prominent. There's nothing covering them at all.
I never realised you could see the spine. And
It's so prominent because there's nothing covering it.
it's skeletal, it's horrible.
I sent you for a bone scan. Now your spine is okay. Your hips are absolutely not okay. Your hip bones are similar to about a 60-year-old lady's hip bones.
It's quite thin, even though I knew the likelihood was my bones would be bad, you know, you had the naivety that it won't happen to me, blah, 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 and it's a definite shock.
What's scaring you most?
Just that I have the hips of a 60-year-old that's older than my mum. And it's like 5 years' time, if I carried on, what would it be like? I can't believe I've done that to myself. I want to be there for my kids growing up, so I've got to change.
It's the end of the week for Gillian and Philippa, and armed with their tailor-made eating plans, our diet swappers head home, ready to turn the old eating negatives into new forward-thinking positives.
Last year, we followed the lives of 4 women, Rachel, Rebecca, Elaine and Fiona, each battling to wrestle back control of their lives from the grip of anorexia. Rachel is aged 21, 5'3", and weighs just 5 stone 12.
Once I lost athletics, I think I lost a part of me. I was just left on a ledge, and my new obsession in life went on to food, and I used to start restricting what I ate.
Rebecca is aged 21, 5'5", and weighs just 7.5 stone.
It's much easier for me to deal with if my food's in packets. I know there's a certain amount of calories within that packet, and I trust it not to be any more.
Elaine is aged 35, 5'5", and weighs 7 stone 4.
I've damaged my body quite a lot over the years, and I think the chances of me having kids, well, I've been told, are very minimal. The eating disorders left me without a normal life.
And lastly, Fiona, aged 27, is 5'10", and weighs 7 stone 9.
Restricting my food intake and controlling my eating made me feel good about myself. I became very, very good at losing weight, and it just escalated out of control.
To help these young women on the road to recovery, we've been working with renowned eating disorder specialist Dr. Peter Rowan.
So at what point does dieting become not normal behaviour and slipping into anorexia?
I suppose that the crucial issue with it really is when it takes off so that you're predominantly thinking about that all the time. You're descending into a world which is dominated by issues to do with body weight and eating behaviour.
Like most anorexics, these 4 girls all share an obsession with the calorific content of food. Eating disorder dietitian Ursula Philpott has worked with many anorexics and is working with the women to help them overcome their underlying fear of food.
They also can misinterpret a lot of physiological symptoms, and really my job is to help clarify those, to help them trust food again, really.
One place where the group's distorted views of food manifests itself is the supermarket.
Thoughts about being greedy or what other people might perceive as you know, them being greedy for having more than a couple of items in the trolley, they'd find quite difficult.
On this visit, the girls are encouraged to talk about their food phobias.
I don't actually eat cheese, really. It's high in calories and full of fat. Bread is very difficult for me to eat. I haven't eaten bread for a very long time.
As is common with anorexia sufferers, even the foods that do make their list must pass strict regulations, and the absence of a familiar item causes distress.
That's slightly concerning. The slice of brown bread that I'd normally have isn't here, so now it'd be a case of finding which one of these would be my next best option. That's 53, so that wouldn't be an option. 120, definitely not an option, that.
For Rebecca, food shopping is a numbers game.
1, 2, 3, 4, tell me that you love me more. 100 grams of this is 260. That's got 17. I just wish that I could walk into a supermarket and just pick anything up, not have to worry about the labels, just things that I'd enjoyed. Thanks, bye.
Bye-bye. 6.56 grams.
With the shopping finally completed, the next task is to address the group's distorted ideas on portion size.
We're here now to look at increasing the calories that you've had in your lunch and making it more of a usual lunch.
Ursula shows the girls a healthy portion for lunch.
Cover the bread with a reasonably thick slice.
It's just more than I'd usually eat in the day, and it's like breaking the habit of either skipping lunch or just having a salad.
The girls now have to make their own cheese sandwich, but still need Ursula's guidance to break old habits.
So Fiona, just looking at the end there, yours is actually quite thin at that end. Do you want to just put a little bit more on just down this end, and that's it?
Sandwiches made, but the hardest part is still to come, eating them.
And just let me know any thoughts or feelings you've got.
Okay, I've noticed that before I ate it, I squashed it.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
It is very common for anorexics to have methodical ways of eating a meal. Squashing food down, hiding parts of the meal, cutting it up to small amounts, using a teaspoon to eat with, and breaking small amounts off are all habits they find hard to break. They have managed to finish their sandwiches, but Rebecca is still struggling to leave a clean plate.
If I clear my plate now, I'll feel quite guilty about that, and that's when the whole anxiety and punishment will set in.
Although all the girls still have a long way to go, just finishing a cheese sandwich is a huge step for them on their road to recovery.
Today, I do feel nicely full after that sandwich, and I presume that's how you're meant to feel after lunch. I haven't had that feeling for quite a while.
I just feel content and quite satisfied, really, and pleased that I'd managed to eat the cheese sandwich and actually enjoy it.
Later on, the women face up to how anorexia has changed the way they view their bodies.
Pampering is something that I never, ever do for myself.
It's been a year since we first saw supersized Heather Tilney walk into the diet den. Time's moved on, but back then she was in dire need of help.
I love food. I love trying different foods, unless it's vegetables. I like stuff to be like a party in my mouth.
Heather, a full-time working mum, lives with husband Richard and their daughter Madison. But while this call centre worker loves her nosh, she hates cooking.
I don't find cooking in any way, shape or form entertaining at all.
Heather's love of processed comfort food started when she was young, and now her poor eating habits are being passed on to her 16-month-old daughter, Madison.
She wants the food that we eat. She won't eat her own food anymore.
I think because Heather doesn't like vegetables, she gives Madison what she eats, and I don't think that's a good thing at all.
I don't want her to be like me. I really don't want her to get bullied at school. If she goes to school fat, it's because I've done it. Nobody else. I don't want to be like this anymore. I want to be the skinny girl that's inside that I keep shutting up with chocolate.